Welcome to Fitzdog Radio. I'm sitting in the back house. In Los Angeles, you usually have a house behind your house, otherwise known as the Chateau de Bow Wow. Maybe you got in trouble with the wife. Maybe you get relegated to the back. Huh? That's not me. I just come back here to podcast and masturbate. That's it. Sometimes at the same time. Those are the highest rated episodes. I am just back from Portland, Oregon. Man, was that fun. God damn, I love that Helium Comedy Club. Packed them in. Thank you for coming out, people. When you come out, you have to understand something. When you come out and you bring your friends, I hit bonuses. I come home with a little extra cash, and it puts a big smile on my face. So thanks for showing up, and thanks to the great comics that I worked with, James and Katie Hughes, who's a very funny comic out of Atlanta. We had fun. I want to mention something about her. Oh, I know. I was watching her, and you know, I love watching stand-ups I haven't seen before that are really good, and it's usually somebody that's not from LA or New York because I've already seen all those comics. And so you go on the road and you work with somebody new, and you're just so impressed. And I'm watching her, but then you also, when you watch too much comedy, it starts to like dissolve, like the lines dissolve, and it starts to get existential. And when you do 5 shows in a weekend and you start hearing the same jokes, then you start hearing mechanics. In other words, you hear the joke said, and I'm in the green room, so I'm not watching her, I'm listening, and I can hear the audience laugh at what she said. And I know what she's going to say because I've heard her say it now 5 times. And then it starts to get weird. Like you realize that comedy is a transaction. It's like a business transaction. We give you something, the comedian gives you something, the crowd, and then you pay us. It's like, here's the product. Here's some thoughts that I have, that came to me, that I crafted, that I've practiced at other shows, and I'm going to say them. I'm going to deliver them to you. And then the payment is made. And the payment can be a little or a lot, depending on the joke. But you can't haggle. There's no haggling the price that you're paid for the joke. It is what it is, which means that sometimes the laughter is like a high-ticket item, you know? So, some are expensive items. There's a big, wholesome laugh. There's a laugh that it comes back with more energy than it was delivered in, and that's a profit. And then you have cheap laughs, which are like, I always think of the quotient as like, are you giving them more than they're giving you back? That's what a good joke is. You know, are you sweaty up there? Which isn't to say, look, there's physical comedians that I love. There's high energy comics that I love. But there's also, when you feel a desperation in the delivering of the joke, and then the results are a diminishing return with the laughter, then that's like a cheap joke. That's in the discount bin. That's not expensive. It feels empty. And when you hear a lot of cheap jokes, you don't leave the show feeling full. Like you go see Carlin, you go see Brian Regan. You know, if you ever saw Pryor, that shit stays with you. Maybe for days. You can fill up on the joy of a well-crafted of material that is just divine. It's something that the average person can't. They can't react to life in the way that comedians can, and it's a gift, and it's something that that you can't fake. The laughter, the payment on that laughter is real, and there's sometimes you're underpaid. Like I feel like some comedians get overpaid for what for their goods. And I feel like some are underpaid. There's some comics that I see that deliver just great shit, and the crowd is not paying them their due. But you can't argue with it. That's just the going rate. That's it. Am I taking this metaphor too far? I thought about it a lot, and then I smoked pot after seeing the show the other night, and then I was like, I went deep into thinking about this. And then there's the whole idea that you stole a joke. You took that laughter from somebody else, from another comedian. You took their product, and now you are stealing that laugh. You didn't steal the joke. You're stealing the laughter. That's what you stuck. That's what you took. And that's a fucked up thing to do. Stealing somebody else's joke it's like going up to an electrician who has a van and it's filled with all of his equipment. It's filled with $100,000 worth of tools, and you steal that van. And now that motherfucker can't make a living because you've got his tools. And so anyway, enough about that. I was thinking about that. Sometimes you overpay. You guys overpay. I see it. And I don't like going on after a comedian that's been overpaid because then I don't respect the crowd's judgment. You guys get tricked sometimes by some bullshit. I'm not going to say who, but there's some bullshit being sold out there. It's like abstract expressionism, some canvas that's just white. And it's being sold for $17 million in Prague at some gallery, and some fuckface is paying for it. In the same way that, well, whatever. I'm not going to mention the comedians, but you know who I'm talking about. All right, or you don't. I don't know. I don't badmouth comedians. I really don't, but in my mind, I do. Speaking of great comedy, my 1 hour special is coming out. I'm taping this on Sunday, the 29th, and I'm taping it in 1 week at the Comedy Store. If you haven't got your tickets yet and you're in LA on February 5th, I'll be doing 2 shows. That's Sunday night, 7 and 9:30. Get your tickets at Fitzdog.com. Let's pack it out. Let's get a fucking hot crowd in there. I'm real excited about the material. I did it. The last 2 weeks I did the set exact, so I did it 11 times, and I feel really good about it. I'm really proud of it. It's killing. It's all flowing. It's material. I haven't done a special in a bunch of years, so this is all the best shit that I've pulled together. So anyway, come out and see that, and I'll be running it. I'll be rehearsing it at the La Jolla Improv on February, not La Jolla Improv, La Jolla Comedy Store. I hope I said Comedy Store before. That's where I'm taping it. La Jolla Comedy Store, February 2nd, Thursday night. So come out and see that show as well. I was in Portland, and I hung out with my boy, Brian, who was like my best friend growing up. Great dude, just a big heart, was always the most caring friend. And, kind of had like a tough he's dealing with stuff now, and he kind of had a tough childhood. I grew up with him, and he had, I lived in this nice house on the hill with a, intact family, and he lived in a kind of a rundown apartment with a single mom, and he made a life for himself, and he's made a good life for himself, and I'm really proud of him. And then but this shit he doesn't remember from childhood. We drank a lot. He's been sober 15 years. I've been sober 30. We both quit, but we were drunks, and we have memories that the other guy doesn't remember. He doesn't remember stealing my mom's car with me, and then he fucking sideswiped another car in my mom's white Chevy Caprice Classic, scraped up the whole side of the car. He doesn't remember that we got into a fist fight one night at the Tarrytown Lakes. 3 fist fights, 3 rounds of fighting. Somehow he doesn't remember it, which is weird because he won the fight. And I didn't need to tell him that. I could have told him I won because he didn't remember the fight. But I told him. He beat my ass. That's all right. He's a lot bigger than me. Not a lot, but he's bigger than me. So I'll be taking a break off the road after taping this special, and then I'll be back out again in Philly, I think at the end of March, sometime in March, maybe beginning of March, I'm in Philly at Helium, and I got some other dates I'm going to announce. Let's do a couple quick overheards. I want to get to my guest because I know you love Sam Morril, as I do. He's such a good hang. Here's a couple of quick overheards. This is from... who is this from? I don't know. Oh, Peter Malaspina. Many years ago, my cousin and I were working with my uncle one summer for his construction company, and whenever he would drop something or make an error, he would shout out, "Your sister's ass," which sounds like you might have been in Boston. That sounds like a Boston. Your sister's ass. And so I was thinking about that phrase because I know I've heard that phrase a lot. So I looked it up. I Googled your sister's ass, and on the Urban Dictionary, it listed as, this fucking made me laugh, a hard 17 hand in a game of blackjack. In other words, in blackjack, you try to get to 21. If you get to 17, then you're not allowed to take another card. You're not allowed to hit. You have to stay on it. So, but sometimes you'd like to take another card, but you're not allowed to. So a hard 17 in a hand of blackjack is your sister's ass because you want to hit it, but you can't. And I've always felt for guys that had super hot sisters because you're still a man. I mean, do you not see your sister's tits? Like I was thinking about like Pamela Anderson. I remember I met this guy once. Her brother's name is Jerry, and he was he's an actor, and he like produced some stuff that she was in, like Stripperella and Stacked. Like, here's my sister. Yeah, she's the star of this show, Stacked. Because of her tits that I'm looking at right now. Like, that's just got to be so weird, or like, what's her name? Who was it that was kissing her brother at the Oscars? Used to be married to Billy Bob Thornton. You're all screaming at your radios right now. You listen on the radio? Yeah. Angelina Jolie. Like, her brother, like, couldn't help himself. He just had to go for it. Good for you, man. Fuck the boundaries. Step over the boundaries. Matt Johnson overheard at a bar in New York a guy passionately talking to others about Star Wars. Without skipping a beat, he then exclaimed, "And that's why China is going to take over the U.S. next year." Yes. Yeah, that sounds about right. My friend Brian was, we talked about, he's a big podcast listener. Some of the stuff that skews a little controversial. And I had to hold my tongue a little bit. I love the guy, but some of his ideas I don't sit with me as well. Anyway, 3 baby boomers enter a Dunkin' Donuts. Lady baby boomer number 1, "I'll do a jelly donut." Cashier says, "Do you want half a dozen?" I don't know. Did I just ask for half a dozen? Or did I say 1? Because that would be 5 more. That would be 500% more than I just asked for. And so the guy says, "No. Also, give me a jelly donut and 6 donut holes." And the cashier says, "We sell donut holes in increments of 5. Okay? Explain that to me. How did that happen? Who's doing the math at the donut shop? 5 holes? What happened to the 6th donut? You didn't take a hole out of it? I don't know. That's from Adam Bean. All right, listen, let's get to it. I want to also tell you guys, oh my God, in this new year, if you've got some goals, you've got some health goals, maybe eating better is one of them. Factor is where you want to line yourself up. It's easy, fast, really high quality food, nutritious, and they drop it at your door. And you got that extra time to do everything else on your to-do list. Achieve and maintain your 2023 goals. It's America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Start saving time, eating well, living your best year yet. And let me tell you something about Factor. Factor is very dear to my heart right now, and I'll tell you why. My mom had a rough year. You've probably heard me talk about it. She had major heart surgery, and then they had to put in a pacemaker, and then she broke her foot, and then she got COVID, and she lost a bunch of weight. She lost like 20 pounds. And so for Christmas, I signed her up. I bought her Factor for to be delivered to her house to put weight back on her, because you can select high protein, which is what I did, the protein plus option. And she loves it. Right to her door, into her refrigerator, not even freezer, refrigerator. Cooks that much faster. And she is freaking out, thanks me all the time. I believe my mother loves me more today because of Factor. If you don't have a lot of time to cook, which she has time but not the ability to cook, then you can get your meals ready in 2 minutes. Flavor packed meals, keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, all different types, 34 chef prepared, dietitian approved weekly options. There's always going to be something for you that you love. They've got great smoothies, and it's also cheaper than takeout, faster than restaurant delivery, and I can go on and on. So it's enjoy clean eating without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy the fresh stuff sent right to your door. 2 minutes to get it ready. No prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/Fitzdog50, the number 50, and use code Fitzdog50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code Fitzdog50 at factormeals.com/Fitzdog50 to get 50% off your first box. Enjoy it. Thank you, Factor. All right, listen, my guest... you know him. He's a great, great stand-up. He is changing the face of stand-up today with the kind of YouTube specials he's putting out, the kind of internet content he's putting out. He is one of the faces of this kind of postmodern stand-up where it's not about being a famous movie star or a TV or even having, late-night specials. Like, it's about giving people content, and it's high quality. I always enjoy watching his shit. His last special I just watched from Netflix, Same Time Tomorrow, I think it's called, is really good. Really good. And he's been on everything, Colbert, Corden, all that shit. Tons of specials. And he's here. I talked to him this week. We had a blast. He was in Vegas. We Zoomed while I was in Portland. And here's my chat with the great Sam Morril. I'm sitting here with a slightly disheveled, maybe hungover Sam Morril.
Absolutely hungover.
You're in Vegas?
I'm in Vegas. I'm the type of hungover where we're at the blackjack table, and the first few hands you lose, you're kind of like, you win some, you lose some. And then by like an hour in, I'm just like, you fucking whore, to the dealer.
Fuck you and what other Southeastern Asian country you're from. Your little island nation that you fled to come here.
That was hour 3. That was when I made it to. No, we went hard. It's like that long travel day. We came in a day early, so we hit some steakhouse here, and just Veter doesn't drink, Gary Veter. So yeah. He's just watching me turn into a monster.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
You bring a guy to open for you who doesn't drink?
We've just been doing the road together for a long time, and he's just he kind of stopped drinking. It's pretty annoying.
Uh-huh.
It's annoying to have someone remember this shit.
Yeah, you don't want a court stenographer around when you're cursing out a dealer. Reminding you of shit that there's a reason why a drunken brain flushes all the memories away, so you don't have to revisit them again.
Yeah, no, it's not great, but nice hotel. I mean, what can you do? Are
you in the bus part of the tour?
No, that was last week. That was pretty great though.
Right. So now it's just you and Gary. There's no posse.
I got a camera guy, James Webb, who directed my special, and then I got a tour manager here.
Yeah.
And he's this guy Brian. He's really good.
And those guys drink?
They do. James Webb didn't drink before me, and I've turned him into a drunk. I'm ruining Gary got his life together, but James is we were on the bus and I got all this whiskey and natural wine, and James is like, this natural wine is good. And he's a huge guy. He can bench like, we're in the hotel gyms. He's benching like 300 pounds, but he's a fucking lightweight with alcohol. So it's hilarious to watch this just monster of a man just have like 3 glasses of red wine and be shithouse wasted. And then while he's wasted, he's doing like, tricep dips on the bunk, to stay shredded. And, we're animals. I mean, I do not deserve to be on a tour bus. I realize. I mean, I'm like literally, we're opening up Gary's curtain and farting in and then closing it. We're just pigs. We're just animals.
And then, wait. So I just picture this guy who's the big guy. You're gonna start getting him so shit-faced, his life's gonna become a wreck, and you're gonna have to fire him from your own tour.
I know. He's gonna be. It's like I would think of that thing in Guns N' Roses when Axl is like, if Slash doesn't stop dancing with Mr. Brownstone, he's out of Guns N' Roses. I'm gonna have to do that shit to him.
Who's Mr. Brownstone?
Oh, that was heroin.
Oh.
If Slash doesn't stop doing, and by the way, it's like Slash is literally on heroin. He's smoking a cigarette. He's so fucked up that the cigarette falls down his pants lit, and he still doesn't miss a chord. Like he's that good.
Dude,
that guy's more guitarist than human.
Did you see the video where he had was that a cover band or was it him that his hair was on fire and he kept playing? Oh, wait, you froze.
Did I lose you there, dude?
Oh, yeah, there we go.
I'm still recording. Sorry about that. I recorded all that stuff still.
Oh, okay.
Sorry
I don't know
if
is that my Wi-Fi or yours?
I'm assuming it's Vegas Wi-Fi.
It's got to be Vegas. There's a lot of guys spanking right now. I'm in Portland, Oregon at the Helium Comedy Club.
Oh, good club.
Yeah, and it's funny because on your last special, I remember you were talking about doing a joke, because I'm doing an hour special in a week, and I'm running the hour, and I was starting to doubt a joke after doing the show last night, and it was so funny because I literally said to the act backstage, I was at the feature act, I was like, I think I got to drop this abortion joke, and then she just looked at me and she goes, dude, you're in Portland, and then in your special, you literally talk about how you had been doing a joke in Portland and almost cut it.
I've always said like a joke. Well, they'll grown it in Portland, but if that joke gets a bomb in Portland, it's funny in Missouri for like another 12 years, because Missouri's just like behind, I feel like. But behind is good for comedy. Woke is not good for comedy. Yeah, I had a joke. I remember taping a special there. No, what happened was I was doing Helium, and I was working on an hour, and I had 1 8-minute dead baby chunk.
Oh.
It was a story, but it would killed everywhere, but then in Tampa, in Portland, it bombed, and I'm bombing so fucking hard. I'd be killing for like the first 38 minutes, and I belted that story, and it's just silence. And I remember at the end of the week, every show, that's how it went, and at the end of the weekend, the manager, she said, don't drop that dead baby joke. And I was thinking about it. I didn't bring it up. She just said, don't drop it. It's so funny. And I was like, all right. And I did it in Tampa the next week, and it fucking annihilated to the point where I was like, it's almost like they're making up for Portland. Like they know it bombed. Yeah. And and I kept it, and it like, I put it in a special, No,
Tampa is where all specials should be taped, because you literally, that line that you're trying not to cross, in Tampa, they just keep going. No, it's the line's way down there. You're not even close to the line.
They're awesome. That's a great comedy city, because they don't get it's Florida without the pretentiousness of like Naples or Miami.
Right.
And it's just kind of like dirty Florida down the middle. It's kind of split politically, I feel like. Great, perfect for comedy.
And Side Splitters is one of my favorite clubs in the country. It's a great room. It's just physically a perfect setup. They got that balcony is kind of raised, not the balcony, but the back is kind of raised up, and it's got a nice low stage. And
one of the all-time great comedy rooms, and Bobby Jewell, like I worked there, like I came up there as like a feature. I started working there like when I was very young. Yeah. And So funny. This is classic Bobby Jewell, who ran the club. He goes, I heard you tell a rape joke in Atlanta at the Laughing Skull, and I knew I had to book you. And I'm like, that's what got me work. He was the biggest character. I talk about this guy all the time, but I mean, I know you remember him. I mean, he was so funny. He would pick you up shit-faced in his convertible, blasting Jersey Boys with the top down, and you're just like, maybe we'll make the show, maybe we'll die. I don't know. He ruled though. He was so.
No, I came after him. I came in with the new regime.
I mean, Brian's a better person,
yeah.
But Bobby would just cost them money every year. It was his club, and it would be like. Literally, like they're like, we had to switch Bobby off to like a cheaper whiskey, and it saved us like $25,000 a year because he would just get lit up, and he would buy his friends shots. He had all these hangers on, and he would start shit with customers. He would walk in loaded like a sitcom character, like he would like pose like as if he wanted people to be like, yeah, Bobby's here, and he would come in shit faced, and then he would make jokes. And I remember one time a guy across the bar is laughing because he's like a sloppy old man. It's funny to see an old man that drunk, and Bobby goes, the fuck you looking at, pussy? And I was like, these are your customers, man. Like, you're running a place of business. I have so many videos of him on my phone, like pissed. He was so drunk he was pissing on his own car in the parking lot. He thought it was someone else's car. I'm like, that's your car, dude. And then he just got in my face. Like he would do that thing that you do in pro wrestling where the guy would get like 2 inches from your face to try to act like tough. But he just stunk of whiskey, and it was it was, I mean, he made me laugh probably the hardest of any club dude because he's truly a funny human, you know?
Yeah.
But he would, I remember I had Dina Hashem featuring for me there once, and Dina's like, she's really cool, but she's kind of like, what the fuck is up with this guy?
Right.
So he invites us over, he cooks us dinner, and which is like a nice thing he did. He
That's real nice. That never happens.
He's a classic dude where it's like literally like just sports memorabilia jerseys hung all through his pad. He's got a nice place in Tampa, and cooks us steaks. He's pouring us wine. He's all these nice sides that he made. And then we're at the club. We're like, wow, what a lovely night. He shows up at like 11 p.m. stumbling at the club, and everyone's like, oh no. And he gets in our face, and he goes, I fucking cooked for you. And I was like, you invited us over. What the hell? What the hell are you talking about? Dude, I have so many stories about that guy. He's truly the funniest. He was really the funniest guy to work for.
And what happened? Did he sell the club?
He sold it, yeah. Yeah. And he was like the last of that type of club owner. I told Dina, she was laughing so hard. I was like, yeah, enjoy this, because there's like 2 of these dudes left. They don't exist anymore. So she was like, she talks about it all the time. So she's like, that was a crazy weekend. Just I mean, I have videos of him like taking shots with me, being like, Sam Morril, best comedian in our price point.
Yeah, you know who was like that is Richie up at the comic strip. He was a character. He would drink people under the bar. He just passed away, right?
I missed that Richie. I came in when he was a little older, but he did pass away. Yeah, I mean,
Young
I knew
Richie
him.
was a character. He represented Eddie Murphy when Eddie first started.
Oh, that's the first thing he'll say to you in conversation.
Yeah. Right.
He'd like walk you over and be like, we repped Eddie Murphy. And as a young comic, I'm like, what happened?
Yeah.
He left. He left us.
Yeah.
But still pretty cool.
There's a lot of managers that repped famous people before they got good. Like Barry Katz. Yeah. Barry Katz at one point had Chappelle, Louie, Dave Attell, Dane Cook, Jay Moore. He had all these guys, and they all left. And then
That's crazy.
And then what's his name? Who's the guy that owns Stand Up New York? Kerry Hoffman. You know Kerry Hoffman?
Didn't know.
He represented Zach Galifianakis and a couple other people, and then they did. It's so sad because like these people really do like help you get into the business. Like they set you up, and then you make it to a certain point, and you're like, and it's like a booster rocket, and you just kind of let them fall off into the ocean as you soar off into space.
Yeah, but also that I've heard that guy's like ripped off his clients and stuff too. Like, they help you, but they also like there's some shady shit going on.
Yeah.
And also, like, whenever it's due to like run a comedy club, you're like, all right, I mean, I'm making $25 a set. Maybe this isn't like the long-term, you know, game plan for my career that if I want to have like, you know, any success.
Right.
But I remember those clubs. I remember because Comic Strip managed a bunch of comics and they were the only comics they booked. So I was like, how the fuck do I get on here without being managed by one of these people?
Yeah, and that became a whole racket in New York for a while. Every club owner was representing, except for the Celery that never did that. But Boston Comedy did it. Stand Up New York did it. The Strip did it. Even Caroline's was representing people for a while.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
Caroline's was really good to me. They were they when I was a young comic, they gave me like every weekend. I got to.
Oh, really?
That was like every weekend there was like a party. It was just like it felt like you were in the 80s or something. That's how I imagine 80s comedy felt. You just get ripped. I would host there because they would pay more, so it would be like, let me host because it was like an extra $75 or something a show. So I was like, please let me host. And I wasn't a good host, but I got good.
Right.
Because like you just learn how to host, but it wasn't. But that was like the only club I ever hosted at. And you eat that chicken parm, which was like a brick of Velveeta cheese right on the, just like, I'm like, I just ate like 3,000 calories and then just you're pounding whiskeys and doing sets
and the weekend shows at the Carolines was also like the white headliner had the 8 o'clock show and the 10 o'clock show, and it'd be like half full, and then the midnight show would be like John Witherspoon, and you'd have black people lined up down Broadway waiting to get in for the sold out show, but they never gave the early show. I don't know why.
Well, yeah, I remember Paul Mooney would do that show there, and he would show up. There would be like some white host. And he would have to do an hour and 15 minutes because Mooney would just show up whenever the fuck he wanted to. So there'd be some like green young comic like, is he here? And just black people just arms crossed walking out. And then Mooney would just like roll up on stage and do like 2.5 hours.
Right. Yeah. And
crazy.
So did you get in a final set there before they closed?
I didn't. I was bummed. Attell was doing the last week and he emailed me to. It's so funny. He emailed me. He has my number, but he emailed me.
Yeah.
He's like, come by, do a set on my shows. And it's West Coast gigs. I've been flying out a day early, just with airlines lately, just stinking. So I was in Spokane, Washington, and I didn't get to do it. I heard Attell's last shows were epic. I mean, that was like a yearly tradition.
Yeah.
Dave Attell at Caroline's since I was in high school. I mean, I remember seeing him at Caroline's in high school. I have an autographed Dave Attell playbill from when I was in high school.
No shit, really?
Yeah, because I was like, Dave, will you sign this? And he was like, this is when he was still drinking. You could tell he just was like, get away from me.
Yeah.
But
what high school did you go to? You went to school in New York City, right?
I did. It's called Browning. I think I talked about this on your podcast before. Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
I think I've done this a few times, so it probably doesn't matter.
So, I did one last set at Caroline's. I was in town for Christmas, so I went up and I did. I had all my friends and family come out, and it was it was so funny because like I don't know the new people there because I haven't been headlining at Caroline's for like maybe like 6 or 7 years.
You did a weekend there, or was it just
no? I just came in to do one night. And I just set it up like, let me just like do a spot. But then it turned into something that I started talking about on my podcast. And all of a sudden, like I filled up the room, like I drew a big crowd, and it was like on a Wednesday night. And so I show up, and I had like 12 people on my guest list, and the manager didn't know me, and she's like, "No, you get 2 people." I'm like, "No, but like." I filled the room. Like you're paying me $75, and I filled the room. So can I have 12 people on my guest list?
Wow. That's fucking amazing.
And then they handed me a bill for my chicken sandwich, and I was like, really?
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
But then somebody came over that knew me and was like, no. He's like a real headliner. He's like a guy that headlined here for 20 years. Yeah.
I know, but that's such a bad sign. I mean, of course the club closed. If they're like, well, who's this guy? You're like, he fucking filled your room.
But that was always a rough room, man, because usually you go to the Portland Helium Comedy Club, tickets are $22, parking's free. It's a 2-drink minimum, but the beers are like $6. And then you go to Caroline's and you got people that are coming in from like Jersey and Long Island. So they're paying $12 in tolls. They're paying $30 to park. And then the ticket prices are like $40. And all of a sudden you're going like, why can't I fill 5 shows? It's like, because my fans are not rich.
Well, it felt like almost like a theater type thing.
Right.
Even though it wasn't because when I started working there, I was like, this is like the classiest room I've ever seen. I couldn't believe it. I thought it was like, and then, they never changed it. So it kind of started to look dated in kind of a weird way, but it was kind of cool how it looked dated. Yeah. And, you're right. The drinks were insanely expensive. And, I'm sure the rent was crazy, and it's getting replaced by Susan Sarandon's ping pong store. Do you see that?
Is that what it's going to be?
Yeah. Susan Sarandon does like a ping pong type, which is like the saddest, this historic comedy club. And it's like fucking just a classic Times Square. That was like kind of one of the last reasons I would go to Times Square was Caroline's. So
why else would you go there? Yeah
it was like that. It's over. It's kind of the end of an era.
I wonder who would need that real estate, because it's not great real estate. It's underground and it's like surrounded by homeless people. But I don't know. I guess Susan Sarandon can draw a crowd with ping pong players.
I guess. You just talk about you talk politics. You play ping pong. That's your whole vibe.
Yeah. Right.
What are we gonna do about Ukraine? All right, you serve here. Come on.
What are these paddles made of? Where'd they get the wood for these paddles? Is this virgin wood?
They're cruelty-free paddles.
Yeah.
I found out. Right. They're good paddles. Yeah, no, that's end of an era. So many clubs are dropping, but then, new ones will keep popping up. And, I only really go up at the Cellar anymore anyway. I'm home like 2 days a week, so what the hell is the point of doing other spots? I guess it starts to feel like Groundhog Day, though, and you're like, I always complain that I never take time off, but then I have one day off and I just fill it with shit. I'm just like, I don't know how to take time off.
Really?
I'm really bad at it. You have a family, so like you have to take time off sometimes. But I'm just like a single guy. Like there's nothing for me that I have to ever do, really.
Right. Well, what's the last vacation you took where you actually got on a plane to go somewhere?
Oh, never.
You go to anybody's weddings?
I went to Mark Norman's wedding, but I flew out the next morning and did gigs.
You did.
I did. All right. So here's what happened. I went there I went a night early to hang. So we'll get one.
Where was it, in New Orleans?
It's in New Orleans. I was wasted. I just remember being wasted with Stavros. Halky is one of my best friends. We flew down together. We made sure to sit next to each other, and with Ari Shafir, who's also bombed. And I just remember the first night just wrecked. We end up at a casino. Stav is in such a bad mood because he's just losing money immediately. He's in that calling the dealer a whore mode right there, like, fuck you. Yeah. And then we're with some woman who just starts, like, I don't know how we know her. She's just some woman who followed us from like a wedding party. And we all are like, oh, we got to like cash out. So we go to, I think Ari won money, and so he's cashing out. And Stav and I go to the bathroom, and then we come out. And she goes, "Where the fuck were you guys?" Just yelling at us, and we're like, and I'm laughing because like I don't even know who this person is. And Stav is like, no, and he just like he like immediately goes back at her, and she just is like backs down. She goes, "Okay, I'm sorry." And I was like, "What is happening?" So I remember we walked her to a cab, and then Stav was like, "We need to eat," which I think we just ate. But Stav was like, "I know a good spot," and we end up at this gas station called Hank's in New Orleans. It's like known for good food, but it is hilarious to just like roll into a gas station where we got to eat. And Stav already knows what we're ordering. He's like, "I got this." So we're fucking bombed in in some weird gas station. Stav's like half soft shell crab, half a hero with fried oysters. It's just like these giant po' boys. He orders like all this fried chicken. We're just fucking, checking out, all fries, everything, just disgusting food. And as we're in line, we're just like stumbling. Some guy looks at the three of us. He goes, "I know who you are." And we're like, "Ugh." And then we just end up in the hotel lobby. And
Was the girl still with you at this point?
No, we put her in a cab.
Yeah.
So we're just stuffing our face and we're just eating, and it's a mess. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Like one of those things where I'm like, it's like shameful how much we're eating. And I just said, man, imagine eating this shit sober. And Stav says, I'm completely sober.
No shit.
He hadn't had anything. I forgot. I thought he was drinking. He didn't have shit. So he's just doing this. This is what Stav does. And then, and then Ari literally felt so much shame that before he even fully finished, he had called an Uber. It felt like a one-night stand where we just got like, we just were like, you're just leaving us? He just like stuffed it, and he's just like, he's eating it as he's walking away. He just felt so much guilt. And then Stav and I were in my hotel room getting IV drips the next day.
Oh, really?
And with some fucking hilarious New Orleans man who's just calling us gay. That was like his joke. Is he's just calling us. By the way, didn't even know if we were gay or not. He just thought that was funny. But he was like, he's pouring stuff in the IV drip, and I said, "Oh, what's that?" He goes, "This makes you even gayer." This stuff's gonna make you so gay, and we're like losing it laughing. We're just like, "Who the fuck is this man?"
That's hilarious.
And then we end up. So then I rolled into Mark's wedding feeling like $1 million because we got the IV drip
and feeling gay.
I felt pretty fucking gay.
Yeah.
And then Stav and I, of course, there's like those pictures, those wedding booth pictures. And we get one, it's like one shot of us just hugging. The next shot, I'm sucking him off. And the next shot, he's sucking me off. And I'm like, this is the gayest shit. But then everyone started copying us. So I was like, we started the suck off wedding photos. We brought this down. It's such a New Orleans wedding. It was like, we're eating oysters. It's really fun. Just like so New Orleans. Everyone's wasted. Joe List is singing Springsteen on the mic.
Wow.
And he can kind of sing. It was pretty good.
Was there a parade?
Yeah. What do they call it? A second line or whatever it's called?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, there was one of those. So we're walking through New Orleans. It was a little long. The women were all complaining because they're they're not in walking shoes at a wedding. Right.
Yeah.
But so we it was a great time. Everyone from the Cellars there, Liz, the manager, Liz, and a great crew of people. And and then the next morning I flew out because I had gigs with Adam Sandler. I was opening some of those shows, so I was like, I can't not do these shows.
Wow.
But I was stressing because it's like. The first one was in Jacksonville, and I'm coming from New Orleans. There's not a fucking direct flight. It feels so close.
Yeah.
But I had to connect in Jacksonville, and then the venue was like an hour from the airport. I was like, I'm cutting it fucking close, dude.
Yeah.
But I made it, thank God.
Dude, those lineups were crazy on those Sandler shows.
I know.
Who was on the shows that you did?
First night, it was me, Judd, David Spade, Sandler, and Rob Schneider hosting. It's pretty crazy.
Was Schneider doing like some crazy right-wing stuff?
A little bit. It's like it's not that right-wing, but it's like he's like making fun of COVID a lot, and then he's but he's got bits too. He's doing bits too, and he does a thing where he'll come out with Sandler. Schneider has like an incredible singing voice. It sounds like a joke, but he comes out and sings Elvis because Sandler can sing too, but Schneider's doing he's doing it now or never because he used to be an Elvis impersonator apparently, and it's like a showstopper.
That's
it's
amazing.
Like people are like, what the fuck? Because you don't expect Deuce Bigelow, Male Gigolo to be like a legit crooner, and he's legit.
Wow, that's
it's incredible. Yeah, it's a fun show, and
and I heard Sandler's new stuff is unbelievable.
It's so good. It's so fucking good. He does like 2 hours and it's all killer. It's like, what's so cool about it is you hear 2 hours and as like a comic, I'm like, ugh, but you watch it and it feels like you're like, I could watch more of this. It's like, it feels, cause he mixes it up. He'll do bits, but then he'll do like a song and he kind of balances it in a way where you're just like, okay, what's he going to do next?
Right.
But the fact that he can do the songs, you're just like, oh my God, so few people do the music stuff well.
Right.
So it's like cool to see someone doing it like really in a way where you're like, these are fucking not only funny songs, but this is like good music.
Right. I mean, think about musical comedy was kind of huge in the 80s.
Yeah.
And a little in the 90s, but like so few people do it well. Like Henry Phillips is really funny. I like that.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's great.
Bo Burnham does some good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. But that's like the fact that you name like two, and it was like it's really hard, man. It's hard to do musical comedy.
But it's not. That's the thing. It's really not. Like if you have a guitar and you do the same jokes, but playing a guitar reasonably well or a piano, you get exponentially more laughs. I don't understand why more people don't do it.
But that's not music. I don't think like Dimitri Martin is a musical comic though. He's like a one-liner guy who just happens to have a guitar sometimes. I think musical comedy, I think like the pitfalls of being a hack are so easy to fall into. Because you're like, I can sing and I can play guitar. I could just do like a bad Weird Al song, you know?
Right.
Weird Al's also, it's like, who the fuck else was doing that? Like, he's like another rare thing where you're like, this is kind of a unique thing.
Well,
it's hard to do that.
I've always felt like people that shit on Weird Al and Carrot Top, fuck you. You come up with something completely original that you know is going to get shit on by the other comedians and stick to it. I mean, I got nothing but respect for those two guys.
I've never watched Carrot Top, but I feel like I would feel that way, you know, like, but like Weird Al, absolutely, I feel that way. I mean, he's a classic. I just think about the silly shit he did as a kid where you're like, this just makes you happy. Like, that's the effect of Sandler's voice where I just feel happy when I hear it. It's like, there's a silliness to it. And it's like, no one sounds like Sandler. Like no one sounds even close to Sandler. It's such a unique sound. And, no, those dudes those were epic shows to be a part of. Those were fucking, and it's also funny that I'm doing like, you know, his stuff is, you say like Schneider, he'll do like a little political stuff and I'll do a little, not a ton. My shit's like pretty silly if I'm going there. But, you know, we're in like Duluth, Georgia, and I'm doing like Herschel Walker abortion jokes. And I'm like, oh, this is like not what this crowd expected.
Yeah. I was just in Georgia doing about 5 minutes of Herschel Walker jokes. I said, you know, the one abortion he really wished he'd gotten was that son Christian, who's bad-mouthing him right now.
That's good. That's a good one. That's a good one.
But, like, that crew, Sandler's crew, like, when I think of, like, you know, we both know a handful of people that are just naturally, transcendently funny. Like, it's effortless. You don't see them trying. And it's like, I put Sandler in that group. I put Spade in that group. Norm Macdonald was like that. And, you know, and those guys were all friends. It's crazy. Like that whole group. Kevin Nealon is in that group.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty epic SNL period. I mean, like, damn, I grew up so much on Dana Carvey, too. Like, I thought he was so funny. I forgot. I heard Al Franken voted no for him on SNL, which is
really?
One of the funniest things I've ever heard, where you're like, literally maybe the best SNL guy ever.
Probably,
And you're like, I don't see it, dude.
Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
It's literally, like, it's hard to find, like, maybe Eddie Murphy, Phil Hartman, but it's like it's hard to think of people who are better on SNL than Dana Carvey.
Yeah, I mean, there's Will Ferrell. Will
Ferrell's epic,
Yeah. Kristen Wiig was pretty amazing. She carried a lot of sketches for a long time.
So good, yeah.
But, like, you know, when you look at the audition tape that Dana Carvey did, he came in and he did that Choppin' Broccoli song.
So good.
And, like, that was his whole audition. That wasn't the whole thing. No, he did some other stuff, but, like, that was the crux of the audition was the Choppin' Broccoli. How do you see that and say no?
It's epic. And that one, so my brother owned Opportunity Knocks on VHS and Billy Madison on VHS. So those were like my intros to comedy.
Yeah.
And I heard Dana Carvey thinks Opportunity Knocks is a bad movie. I must have watched it like 19 times.
Yeah.
I fucking loved that movie. I thought it was like, I was just like, this guy's so fucking funny. It's got heart. It was just like that dude deserved more roles like that. I guess the movie tanked, but like he deserved more roles where he could like kind of showcase, you know, he was so three-dimensional. And SNL, you don't really get to show that in a 5-minute sketch. But I thought
Wayne's World was kind of like Wayne's World was I mean amazing, but like not a lot of like depth of the characters. But
no, just pure funny.
He kind of took time and he moved to Marin, you know, in north of San Francisco. And he just kind of decided to raise his family for a bunch of years. So he kind of took himself out of it. I know. That's going to be your friend Mark Norman. He's going to pop out a couple kids. No.
Yeah, right. No. If they pop out kids, she's on her own. Mark's he's a warrior. He'll never, you know, so we had Colin Quinn on our pod recently, and Mark's coming back from his honeymoon in South Africa, and the flight was delayed like 16 hours. So he's now like, it's the morning of, and he goes, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I go, leave her at the airport. And he goes, really? And I tell Quinn, he goes, what are you, out of your fucking mind? It's the honeymoon. I have Quinn yelling at me, and I was like, well, I got you here. What are we going to do? He fucking left her at the airport.
No, he didn't. Really?
For the check, they lost the check bag. So he was like, what do I do? And she's like, just go. I'll figure it out. So he left.
No shit.
In his defense, the Colin Quinn app is a really good one.
Dude, I was in South Africa. I've been to South Africa 3 times.
Wow.
Because my
Safari?
wife's... yeah, one of the times. My wife's brother lives over there. He married a South African woman, so they've been living there for like 20 years. So we go over there all the time. And so one time we were over there, and my kids were like maybe like 2 and 5. And I left my wife in South Africa to fly back so I could host the Porn Awards in Las Vegas.
No, you did not.
Yes,
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yes, I did.
How was the Porn Awards?
Well, the last thing I said to my wife at the airport was, before I left, I go, so who's more likely to catch AIDS in the next week, me or you?
Oh my God, dude! Did you really? I didn't know you hosted those.
I hosted them twice.
Bill Hicks didn't Bill Hicks do that back in the day?
Hicks did it. Kinnison did it. Schimmel did it a bunch of times.
Good company.
Yeah, and
Attell
did it. How
was it?
One of the ones I did, it was like the 25th anniversary, so Showtime picked it up. And so there were 7,000 people in the crowd, and they're all porn stars. You know, stars. They're all in the porn industry.
They're in the business, yeah.
And so they had like that roving camera in the crowd, which was being shown on the Jumbotron. And so like every time the camera would come to a woman, she'd fucking pick up her tits or pretend to blow a guy. And I'm up there trying to tell jokes. But it actually, the producer said to me, he goes, you're going to do an opening monologue. We need you to do about 12 minutes. He goes, you have 30 seconds to make them laugh really hard. And if you don't, they're just going to start talking to each other, and we're going to have to take you off stage. So,
wow.
So I had this old joke that I pulled out, which was, I said I knew the Porn Awards were in town because I saw Ron Jeremy at the gas station. He was pumping his own gas. And I'm pretty sure it was him because halfway through filling it, he pulled it out and sprayed it all over the car. And,
that's good.
And like right out of the gate, so I got him, and then I started, and then there was a big demonstration of priests. All these priests were coming to protest the Porn Awards, and so I mean, there's a fucking.
By the way, don't they know what they're doing? By the way, they're only making it look cooler.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a premise from the gods. So I went off on that, and it was fun. And then so that was the second time I did it, and my friends all came out, and the table. You know, normally there's like flowers on the table, and at the end of the banquet, you know, the women take the flowers. But in this case, there was dildos and what do you call those fake pussies? The pocket rocket or whatever it's called.
Like pocket pussy or something?
Yeah.
The fleshlight?
Yeah, the fleshlight. Yeah. So they had fleshlights and dildos.
I don't think I could never get one. It's like funny. I'm still good with my hand, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, me and my hand got a good thing going.
Well, it's a good thing.
Yep.
But I think the sex robot thing is going to be like, that's going to be a thing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like, you know.
You got a lot of guys. What do you call those guys? The incels or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot of fake pussies. Those incels.
Maybe it'll help. Maybe that'll like make them better people.
I hope so. They need help.
So we
all get these fake pussies, and we're all laughing about it. Like, they gave me a limo for the night, and like all the strip clubs had us on the VIP list, so we were kings that night. And we all had the fake pussies, and we were like showing them to the strippers, and we're pretending they're puppets, and we're having fun. And then it's all a big joke until the next day when we all wake up and we're calling each other, and I'm like, "Did you fuck it?" And my friend's like, "Yeah, I fucked it." Did you fuck it? I was like, "Yeah, I fucked it." Like, once you have it, you're gonna fuck it.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That's why I don't get it, because there's only one thing to do with it.
Yeah.
You're going to fuck it. But it's pretty cool, though.
Well, the bad part is once you fuck it, now it's like, now what do I do? Because I'm flying home. I'm not putting it in my luggage because I don't want the guy pulling it out in airport security. I said I don't want to throw it in the trash can because that's unfair to the maid. So I just took the used fleshlight and I slid it into the pocket of the bathrobe hanging in the closet. So, because you know what? Only a douchebag puts on a bathrobe in a hotel. So fuck that guy.
Fair enough. I was thinking about it. They have nice robes in here, but now I'm not going to do it because there might be a pocket pussy in there. I mean, I am in Vegas, you know? This is, dude, that is amazing. That you hosted that. That's so weird.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. And
you do stand-up or you doing all monologue jokes?
No, I did both. I wrote jokes about the porn awards, but then I did stand up in between, and I hosted it with what's her name? I fell in love with her. She was so Belladonna. You know Belladonna? She's like the most hardcore porn star maybe of all time. Like she did third trimester porn. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Who are the guys who are into the pregnant porn? Is it just that it's so outrageous? I mean, it's just not a fetish that does it for me.
I think it's I try to limit my porn use, like in the same way that like I only take a little bit of edibles because I don't want to like have to take more, so I keep it. And I'm the same way with porn. I keep a lid on it.
Yeah, I always think of like that Malcolm X book where he like when he became a big pothead, he just like was smoking like $200 a day, like back then, like a crazy amount.
Yeah.
And he was like, I wasted my potential. I'm like, yeah, you're right. You get to that place with porn, you're like,
right.
It's fucking over, dude. Yeah, I don't like. It doesn't get better, the shit you're jacking off to as you're getting older if you don't keep a lid on it. Like you're not like. I mean, I do think about the shit I jerked off at growing up, and you're like, man, I missed like the purity of just being able to like jerk off to a Buffy picture, you know?
You're right.
Sarah Michelle Gellar just like clothed, just like a nice smile, and you're like, that's all I need.
Well, dude, you and I are a different generation because when I grew up, it really was Victoria's Secret catalogs. Like that was it. We didn't have video. And so like when video got introduced, you know, I was probably in my mid to late 20s when porn got introduced online.
Wow.
You had that shit. I mean, what's the first time you saw it?
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely AOL, so it was the startup. You had to do the, and then you get on, and I don't even remember what the browsers were. Like, I might have been searching shit into like Ask Jeeves. Those might have been the first porno search. I'm asking Jeeves for Jennifer Love Hewitt cleavage. That's like, I don't know what I'm asking. Or like, you know, what do you call it? Hotbot or something.
Right.
Those old school search browsers.
Yeah.
And then, you know, after that, there was like LimeWire and Kazaa. But you don't know what you're getting. Like now there's a thumbnail. Back then you're just like MILF. Fucks, whatever. Yeah. And you click on it, you're like, oh my God, what the fuck? You're like, there was that shit. There was the buildup for like, I mean, it was like literally one step away from like going to the store. I mean, there was one guy in a bodega who would sell us porn. He was this old Indian man with a lazy eye. He cracked me the fuck up. Yeah. He just like, it was the tiniest store too. It was like, you'd think they only have gum, but then you look behind and you're just like, this dude has and he thought it was funny. He would hand us like really fucked up ones because I think he just thought it was funny that we were like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
So I remember him handing us like fat women porn or like, you know, older rod riders. I remember my dad found it and he was so mad at me. He was just like, this is disgusting. It was literally like older women, like 40s to like 60s, and my dad was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. And I was like, I mean, I'm young. I want to know what's out there. You just
then your dad quietly tucked it into the sock drawer after sending you to your room.
Oh yeah.
I remember going like I used to go with a towel to Times Square so he could get his porn, and he'd walk into like Show World. Remember Show World had that big like video library? And he would walk in. I mean,
there were a million of those stores, but I don't know which one was which.
Like he would walk in and they'd be like, hello, Dave. Everybody's like, hello, Dave. And he would walk out with a bag fucking packed with videos, like tons. And they were like, you know, he knew what he liked. He was like going with a wine connoisseur into a really good wine shop.
That's his sideways. That's fucking great.
Yeah, right.
That was those stores. I mean, that was like, that's your intro as a kid. I guess kids don't really know that anymore. Like they're not going out and buying like a Playboy,
right,
or like a Hustler or something. I was in Hustler. I did an interview. It was like a full spread. It's like a legitimate magazine now. There's like occasional Beaver, I guess, shots, but like I remember it's like a full Hustler spread, and my mom likes when I get write-ups, so I was like, oh mom, I just like got the photograph part so she could see it. And she's like, where is this? I said Hustler. She goes, Hustler? Like you couldn't get Vanity Fair or the New Yorker? That's my mom. I was like, I got Hustler. That's who you raised.
Right. I'm the guy that they read when they're filled with shame after jerking off to like some split wet beavers.
But that's what it's for, right? I mean, that's kind of where it started probably. Like you jerk off and then you're like, yeah, I'll read an interview, you know?
Well, Playboy, I mean, famously had like Truman Capote, and they had all these amazing famous authors used to write for Playboy. It was like...
Truman Capote, dude, like, I mean, that's... In Cold Blooded, it's crazy the true crime obsession now, because that's probably the best true crime ever. That's like the greatest written... That's like a novel. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's great. Although, I got to give a plug for my friend... I got a friend, Tom O'Neill. Maybe you heard like Rogan talks about him. He's got this book called Chaos about Charles Manson. And,
is it good?
Well, this guy was like, he's one of my best friends, and we lived next door to each other on Mulberry Street for like 10 years. And then we moved out to Venice Beach at the same time, and we lived like 2 doors away from each other. And so I watched him spend, Sam, not exaggerating, this dude spent 20 years writing one book, because he kept researching shit, and he'd find out stuff where, like, it's all, I mean, basically what it boils down to is, like, the CIA was using mind control experiments and LSD to upset the civil rights movement, and Charles Manson was a part of that. And they put him under the spell of LSD, and they got him to commit those murders. And this is all not conspiracy theory. This is fully corroborated. And he's a real journalist. My friend is like a true journalist. And
wow.
So Rogan read the book.
20 years.
20 years. And I'm talking like I'd walk past his window. Every day I'd stop by for coffee, and he was at his desk, 9 a.m., and he would write until 4 o'clock every fucking day. If he wasn't in the car, which I gave him because he was fucking broke, I gave him my old car, and he would drive to Death Valley to interview some like LAPD guy that was on his deathbed and was finally willing to talk about like evidence that they buried. And so if you want to read, so Rogan read it and became obsessed. And so the book came out, and it was like, a major publisher.
I'm going to download it. I'm going to download it this week, dude.
Yeah, I think like Penguin put it out, and it did pretty well. But then I gave Rogan the book, and he read it, and then Rogan brought him on the show because he was obsessed. And Rogan said it was the best podcast he'd done in 10 years. And the fucking book went to #1, and it like stayed there. And then Rogan like still brings it up all the time. Like he'll like he had Quentin Tarantino on, and Tarantino was obsessed with the book too. And so they started talking about it back to #1.
Incredible. I mean, that's like, well, he's obsessed with that time period. There's so many great books from that time period. There's that, because that the Manson stuff, and like, there's this great one called The Big Goodbye that came out a couple years ago about the making of the movie Chinatown, and it's all about Polanski.
Oh, really?
And the murders. It's one of the best books I've ever read about showbiz too. It's like great Nicholson stories, great Polanski stories, the Manson shit, Sharon Tate stuff, Robert Towne, the screenwriter, like Robert Evans. I mean, it's hilarious and tragic, and like Nicholson is fucking Angelica Houston during Chinatown. He's working with John Huston, who's his hero.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like all this crazy shit happening. I mean, it's also one of my favorite movies ever. But with all this background.
Pam Anderson, she just came out with a book, and one of the stories in the book was that she was at a party and she walked into the ladies' room, and Jack Nicholson was having a three-way with these 2 women in the corner, and she was just like putting on her makeup, but she had on a short skirt, and she was like bending forward, and Nicholson was like fucking one of the women but staring at Pamela, and then he came, and then he goes, thanks a lot, sweetheart.
Nicholson's one of the only mega stars that all the breaking stories only make him sound cooler.
Yeah, right.
I feel like there's so much Me Too creepy news, and Nicholson never pretended to be a saint, and that really helped him. That's like, that Corden story breaks, the Balthazar story, and everyone's like, he's not nice. Or Ellen, when your whole persona is like, I'm your best friend. Right. But if you're just like, look, I'm just a fucking dude, and sometimes I fuck. Like, it's harder to get mad at that guy. And, he doesn't sound like he was a good partner to any woman in his life, but I'll be damned if he's not. He's our, like, Bogart. He's, like, our cool movie guy.
Yeah.
I love that era of movies. Like, I was listening to the Lauren Bacall audiobook, and it's like, don't read it. Do the audiobook for that one, because her voice is the funniest shit. Like, the way... Lauren Bacall or Katharine Hepburn would speak. To me, it's like the funniest shit. Where like every line is like, and I talked to Bogart and we were so happy I was on a cloud. Like no one speaks like this.
There you go.
Are we good again? Yeah. Sorry, man. This internet every 30 minutes, but I'm recording the whole time still.
It's probably like guys in Vegas that they've lost so much that they're in their rooms playing blackjack. Just. For no stakes because they have no money left, but they've just...
For sure.
Yeah, and porn.
They're killing it.
And a lot of porn.
We're talking about the Lauren Bacall book, funny as hell, and also just like cool as... Like Bogart just sounds like a great dude. He just sounds like you're just like, oh man, not only was he the man, but he was just like... Seems like a decent guy too.
Right.
Sucks when these megastars die young. I love that era of movies too. I love those like old timey movies.
Yeah, I like any what do you call it? Film noir.
It's my favorite, dude.
Yeah, I was in I did a couple shows with Louie with Louis C.K. up in Canada. And so we were in Vancouver one day and we had the night off. So we got up and there was this shop called the fungi shop because mushrooms are legal there. So we buy a handful of fresh mushrooms like right out of the field that morning and we pop them and we just start walking around the city. And like, I just remember like we sat down at a bus stop because we couldn't stop staring at the characters that were waiting for the bus. And then like the bus pulled up and he just looks at me and he goes, should we get on it? And I was like, yeah. So, so we get on the bus and it goes like, all of a sudden we go like hurtling over a bridge out of Vancouver and we end up on this island and we're walking around the marina of this island, and then there was like a museum with like a local art show, and we were just convinced that these were the greatest artists we've ever seen in our lives. And we walked, and I checked my steps at the end of the day, and we had walked 30,000 steps by the end of the day. And when we finished, we were back in Vancouver, and we were like, just as we were starting to come down, there was a film noir festival happening on the in this little indie theater, and we just walked in and we looked at each other like, is this the fucking most perfect day? And we watched what was it called, Thieves Road or something.
Never heard of it.
It was a double feature. We sat there for like 5.5 hours and watched film noir. It was beautiful.
That's my favorite. Sometimes the film forum in New York will do that, but I remember I was dating a girl and we went to see The Big Heat, and it was a double feature. That's a Fritz Lang, great one, Glenn Ford, one of my favorite movies. And there's a double, and she was like dreading it. She's like, oh, black and white, like whatever. And then she watched it, and as a credits roll, she's like, that's like a top 5 movie I've ever seen. I was like, yeah. So we stuck around for the late one. I forget, it was another one, Fritz Lang on a train. It was good. It was another good one. Glenn Ford, just like awesome era of like movie scripts had to be cool, and those were considered B movies back then. But they're better scripts than like the big cool Hollywood. There was like a Robert Mitchum quote, like, we didn't have any money, so for the lighting we used cigarettes or something like that. It was like, that was the vibe of the. He was like a dude who learned how to act. He like ran away from home when he was 11 because they had no money. So he just like learned how to act being this like child runaway on trains, picking up on other people's mannerisms. I'm like, that's like the saddest shit I've ever heard.
No shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's also like the coolest,
Yeah. Yeah. That was like River Phoenix. He was this kid that, I don't know if you watched any of his movies, but he had some amazing movies.
Damn, what was the one with Keanu? My Own Private Idaho.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal, dude.
That I think a lot of that was shot in Portland.
Beautiful movie, man.
And,
Gus Van Sant rules.
But that guy, he learned how to act. He never took a class in his life. He grew up living in it was like a commune, and his family just traveled around like gypsies. And he's like, I just studied people. That's how I learned how to act.
That dude would have probably been like DiCaprio if he stayed alive.
I know,
it's crazy.
I know. That was so sad that he died. He did.
Yeah, I loved those. That was an epic. When I was in college, I took a class that was like just a gay cinema class. That's where I saw it. I didn't know it was a gay cinema class. It just said Todd Haynes, Gus Van Sant, Andy Warhol. I was like, I don't fucking know. I just checked it, and literally class one, it's just a dude getting butt fucked on the screen, and I was like, this might be a weird one. This might be a weird semester. And I remember, but he did that like in a way to like scare people away who like couldn't handle art, the teacher. So. It's like almost the way like in tryouts for sports, they just push you so fucking hard the first day to be like, get the fuck out of here. You can't hang.
Right.
Except with butt fucking. And I remember watching like, what the fuck? And then you watch these movies, you're like, yeah, Van Sant and Todd Haynes are cool as hell. And then you watch Warhol and you're like, this guy fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Andy Warhol movies are the worst fucking. You're an artist, great. You can make one good fucking movie before you make 19 that are like breaking the form. I hated them.
Right. I remember we met. Do you remember in White Plains? It was the Galleria Mall. I think they just shut it down this year. But like
I don't.
It was like in the middle of White Plains, and I grew up in Tarrytown, so that was our big thing. Is we'd go to White Plains on the weekends. We'd take the bus, and so me and my friend, we went there, and we were probably like 14 or 15, and we met these two girls, and we had a joint, and so we smoked a joint with them, and they were really prissy girls from like Mamaroneck, and they were afraid to get high, and they were like, let's go see a movie. So we go to the box office. And the name of the movie was, and maybe you know this movie called Making Love with Al Pacino. So
I don't know it.
And so we're thinking, all right, this is going to be sweet, man. This is going to be like a sexy movie. So we go in, and it was a leather gay movie where, like, within 10 minutes, Al Pacino is getting fucked up the ass. And so me and my friend were so high, and we're just going to go to the bathroom real quick. And we fucking left. We left these girls high and confused in a gay movie in a mall in White Plains.
That is fucking brutal. I can't believe you fucking... That is so fucking good. Damn. Pacino, gotta give. It only makes me respect Pacino more.
Oh yeah.
Like I heard Mark Wahlberg was originally offered Brokeback, and he was like, "Fuck that shit."
Oh really?
And I was like, all right, I get it. Like you gotta whatever to protect, but Mark, it would have been pretty cool that like if you kind of would go there as an actor,
Yeah. There's a guy. Do you listen to Stern at all?
I honestly never did. I mean, I watched all the clips of Artie's stories online because I just love Artie Lang. But I was never like a big Stern guy. I love Private Parts. I loved his movie.
There's a guy on there now who does a Mark Wahlberg impression that's fucking genius. It's so goddamn funny. Yeah, they just shit all over him. He's kind of like the new Whipping Boy. I love it. All right, well, listen, man, I don't want to keep you. You're in Vegas. You got money to lose. But I want to promote
that's all I'm doing.
Your tour is coming up. It's what's the name of the tour?
Class Act Tour. All new material. A lot of Vegas jokes tonight. When does this come out?
It's coming out next week, so I'll promote. You're going to be in Vancouver, Seattle, Portland, Salt Lake City, Huntington, New York, Atlantic City, Royal Oak, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Madison, Milwaukee, New Haven, Boston, Miami, Orlando. Go to sammorril.com. That's MORRIL.com. And get yourself some tickets. One of the world-class comics out there. Also, his most recent
You too,
special.
man.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm with my friend James Webb, who I think filmed for you in Chicago, and I told him I was doing your pod, and he was like, I love Greg. I think he's such a great comic, and he filmed you and said how great your set was in Chicago last time you were there. I think were you at the Den?
Man. Yeah, I was at the Den. What a great
That's where
theater.
I filmed. That's where I filmed my last special. It's beautiful.
I mean, as soon as I finished it, I was like, man, I'm shooting my next special here. There's something magic about that room. It's like you have people on either side of you, It's kind of like a round stage. And did the guy give you a pen? The guy that runs the place?
I think he did. Yeah, that was a blur of a week. We did so many shows. I'm just so anal about getting it right. And it's funny, even Gary Vita, who doesn't drink, got drunk with me that week because I was like, "You better be drinking with me tonight. We're doing a bunch of shows, so if I get it wrong." But yeah, that was. It's funny. I did a weekend there. My agent was like, "You gotta do a weekend at this place. You're gonna love it. I bet you're going to want to film your next special there." And he was right. So, I mean, shit, beautiful. And Chicago just fucking rules. It's just a great comedy town.
And my son goes to college there, so he came out with all of his roommates. And so, like...
That's what he was saying.
Oh, really?
That you were roasting them, right?
Yeah, I came out and I said, I go, my son is... goes to college here and he's here tonight, and so like he stood up and everybody, of course he was like, had his back against the wall. I said, don't put him near the stage. I don't want to be looking at my fucking son. And so they put him in the back row. And so I go, I've been talking about this kid on stage for the last 20 years. So tonight I'm going to do every joke I've ever done about my son. And so I did like 3/4 of my set was just jokes about him. So it was fun.
That's fucking beautiful though. That's awesome.
Yeah. It was cool. So
I hate when they sit your people up front. I just did an hour at the Cellar this week, and I had 2 guests, and one of them is literally the woman at my coffee shop. She's I see her every morning, and I'm just like, don't sit her up front. Front row, Will Sylvan's on stage talking about anal with her, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, I'm doing a new special, and I'm shooting it at the Comedy Store in a week. And all my friends are all like, hey, yeah, well, we'll be there to support you. I was like, no, you won't. I don't want a single person I know in the audience. Like, I would love...
That's why I do it out of town usually. I don't want to do another New York special because it's mental. It's in your head. You're dealing with a million texts. I don't want that shit.
Right. So I just told everybody I'm not having anybody come in. And now I'm hoping I can sell the room because it's a Sunday night and it's going to be the night of the fucking Grammys. So I'm fucked.
No one watches award shows anymore. You're good.
I hope not.
You got to come on. We Might Be Drunk when you're promoting the special, man.
Oh, that'd be great, man. I would love that.
You got to come on. Yeah, Norman loves you.
All right, that's cool. Nice to hear.
Yeah,
all right, man.
Sure.
Enjoy the rest of the tour.
All right, thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, take care.